ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of The Nerd Chronicles. This is your host, Christian Paul speaking. Alright? This following episode here contains graphic content that may not be suitable for definitely children and some other viewers involved, which could involve graphic language, visual graphic content, and or both. Viewer discretion is advised.
So the FBI is now putting their full focus on the manosphere. Oh my goodness. Man, I tell y'all, the FBI, they are literally no joke. They will let these red pill self-proclaimed pseudo alpha gurus really hang themselves for years on end until they feel they got enough evidence to really try to try them in court and possibly send them in jail, in which they do have like a 90 to 95% conviction rate. When you're relying on this guru that talks like a bunch, literally talks reckless on criminal activity, but actually reporting criminality, or this guru that is naive but does literally the same exact thing and doesn't follow what he preaches, or these gurus, that talk a great game and preach the same old stuff are very, very contradicting in the actions behind the scenes, or follow this contradicting woman that has a white nationalist on her platform. These pseudo outlets can get you in dire straits for literally your future. I'll discuss more of this on a separate video.
Earlier this week, I just posted a TikTok as well as a YouTube short that mainly discusses about the whole FBI having like full monitoring of the whole manosphere, more specifically in the red pill, and basically discussing like how federal agencies mainly get down when they do their investigations, when they do their thorough research. And I have some responses that like have some folks really have a hissy fit. Others commenting me on like basically on like some slurred speech, which I understand. I've been having that since I was actually born, due to my artistic condition, which I understand. And there are some others that are saying, "Oh, think twice before you post something like this. You don't have that much like evidence." And some folks really literally just throwing me out my name, and I get it, It's kind of when you're trying to make some thorough research and actually get some of the stuff that's really out there, which I do have some evidence that's there to actually explain in full detail. You tend to hit a nerve with the cult following, if you will. But this ain't gonna me trying to come by and literally bash any one of them. I'm not really here to do that today. That's basically on y'all, whatever you want to believe and who you want to actually stick up with. That's fine. I'm basically digging more so into how the federal government mainly gets down when they do their investigations on crimes and when they investigate some folks that are involved in ordeals just like this one above. Right? So, FBI, red pill, all that other stuff that literally came by. Pardon me for the loading of this article for a bit. Give me 1 second. So how do federal agencies mainly do they little due diligence and handle the investigations? Normally they would have classified documents that deals with a bunch of research. They basically try to see who's up in the spaces, who's really the hottest, basically on social media, who runs shows, basically in the red pill space more so. You got the Andrew Tates, the Fresh and Fits, Sneakos of the world. In some cases, you could also have just Pearly Things, Melanie King, the Pete Network, the whole 9 yards gives like certain examples. Donovan Sharp as well, when it comes with the greater manosphere. Raul Tomasi as well, more specifically with the red pill, to give out some examples, literally to name a few. And they basically monitor them and they try to see like what type of slang and what type of stuff they mainly commenting on, what type of stuff they mainly discuss. And they do their digging within for like a number of years. And they hoping and they're waiting for anyone to slip up where they brag about any form of criminal activity, or they actually do some stuff that's actually actual criminal activity to the general public, as well as having possible friends or close relatives or any other witnesses that claims they may have done something, and they may do like some very, very thorough digging. And the process could take like about 5 to 10 years, depending on how long they do their thorough digging. Now, this is the worst part of the whole situation. I want to give a huge shout out to Mr. H. Michael Steinberg, who is a criminal defense attorney who's like well experienced up in the game up in Colorado, and I understand it's federal court. He's your man if you're up in the Denver, Colorado area, especially as you go reach through him, right? So, now, once federal agencies feel like they got enough evidence to really try to take you down, what they'll do, they'll have their agencies, they'll have the FBI, U.S. Marshals, literally come by. When federal prosecutors are ready to make arrests and ready to actually bring down charges, they will send sheriffs, marshals, federal agents, bright and early, 2, 3, 4 a.m. on the crack of dawn to the residences or places of employment of those alleged suspects, and boom! Right, they got you. Right? Shockingly, surprisingly scary, right? So what the lawyer is basically saying, according to Mr. Steinberg here, favorite ploy of the government should attempt to arrest you on a Thursday or Friday, so you will at least spend the weekend in jail or a detention center before you can be released on bail. If you catch the problem early enough, there's a good chance that if you retain a good attorney, that situation could literally be avoided. Now, when it comes to basically the criminal activity reaching a certain volume, as I said earlier, it may take some time because the federal system has a point system that's scored by both federal investigators as well as federal prosecutors to dictate the severity of prison time that's there. The higher the dollar or quantitative volume, the bigger the case, and the more points scored by investigators and prosecutors, depending on how severe the case definitely is. Now, when it comes to getting the charges processed, right? The federal government, when dealing with criminal cases, they have a approximate 90 to 95% conviction rate.
You see?
Prosecutors mainly acclaim, due to the fact that many cases never ever make it to trial. Most offenders end up taking a plea bar and risk potentially a much greater prison sentence, which can be dealt then if they actually went to trial and unfortunately lost. Now you see the other factor that talks about the empowerment and impunity given to both investigating authorities like the FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals, NSA, NCIS, so on and so forth, as well as the federal prosecutors, along with an instant trial maneuver called jury instructions, in which the jury instructions are basic parameters that the judge provides that the jury, which can greatly affect the outcome of the verdict. Now, the lawyer discusses the example where being charged with a federal crime can send you to prison for about 10 years if you lost the trial, and you're offered a 3-year prison sentence if you accept a plea bargain. Now, if you believe you're innocent, you can still take a case to trial knowing that by chance you lose, you could serve a 10-year prison sentence. Within the federal prison system, you will have to serve 85% of your time.
You see?
So for 3 years, more than likely you'll be able to get like around a little over 2.5 years. Actually, 2 3/4 years actually, because it's 85%. Whereas if you do 10 years, you would have to serve 8.5 years. Now, they talk about innocent folks. Ideally, theoretically, that's how it should be. Wasn't that when trial really bring out the truth? That's at least, but unfortunately, sadly, in federal court, it does not go this way many times. The goal of the federal prosecutor, unfortunately, is to get the defendant to take a plea bargain by any means, due to the fact they can save the prosecutor time as well as the government money. That's their main goal. The federal prosecutor system is actually engineered to motivate a federal defendant into taking a plea bargain by offering points off for cooperating, which is well known that a criminal defendant who chooses to take the case to trial could risk receiving a much stiffer prison sentence as opposed to taking a plea bargain. Hence the 95% federal conviction rate. Now, you got investigators being the FBI, DEA, Secret Service, any other organization that has been empowered to investigate any federal criminal activities, in which prosecutors are the U.S. attorneys that conduct the plea bargaining and the courtroom trials, which is not unusual for U.S. attorneys to work with a variety of investigative branches during their tenure as prosecutor. Now, what makes it worse, should the defendant choose to go to trial, the rate for convictions is approximately 99.6%, according to the Pew Research Center. So the defendant unfortunately has his or her odds literally stacked against him. So God forbid, right? And I understand with the whole Tate situation that's been going on in Romania, God forbid, if any one of those little red pill gurus, they catch them on some crazy criminal stuff that goes on here, right here in this country, and it's been stacked on for years and years and years on end, and they get them on the drop of a hat, you know, they have like a very, very stiff, they have some very, very stiff odds against them just to try and maintain innocence and actually get like an innocent verdict or a not guilty verdict. That's how fucking serious the whole federal trial really is, really up in these streets when it comes to all these FBI investigations and the FBI monitoring. It's really that bad, depending on like what type of stuff they spew and depending on what type of criminal activity they literally spew up. It could literally bite them in the ass when they least expect it. That's how serious this thing is. So when y'all talking to me about like, oh, he's crazy, oh, you better watch his mouth, if the feds don't watch, if y'all be thinking that the feds don't even watch these folks really down to a T, when it comes to stuff like this, think again.
Actually, they can. If that person mainly brags about criminal activity relentlessly year after year after year, or if he or she basically makes terroristic threats or death threats towards someone else, and if it continues daily over a period of time, you know, the feds can really have it on record, FBI, DEA, CIA, marshals, you name it, and they could definitely present it to the U.S. Attorney's Office to actually give them the green light. And once they do, I'll tell y'all, these agencies can literally get at you from the drop of a hat on the early morning crack of dawn when you least expect it, which could be surprising and unfortunately also scary. You know what I mean? That's how serious this whole situation is. You know, if he claiming I hadn't done my research and had thought twice, you know. But hey, he knows nothing. I don't know. He knows what I'm talking about.
Do you see